Hello there.
Hi, good evening to everyone. This is Rav and
This is
Adam,
Adam. Welcome to PinoyChap, episode 3 now.
to our third episode, and we're live. Uh,
How's your week been?
my week was a bit rainy, so it
Oh,
rained the whole week, and
yesterday was here, yeah.
now it's raining hard again. So we are our Metro Manila is under signal number one, so we have a
Hmm.
typhoon right now. So yeah,
Oh
it
dear.
was raining crazy since morning. Yes, and how about you, Adam?
I've been busy editing my other podcast called Keep and Destroy. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. It's my Jerry Anson podcast.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
been
yeah,
busy
yeah.
working on that and also been watching a load of short films for the British Independent Film Awards because I'm part of the voting team. So
Wow.
going through all of that, and we're currently on round one, so we have to narrow down 49 films to 15. So
Wow.
yeah,
Is it
busy
hard
working on that.
to watch everything?
It's well finding the time. Yeah, I'm in the short films category, so there are feature films as well, but I don't have to watch them. But so my friend Tom, he's doing feature films. He's watching the feature films, so he's got a lot more to watch. So it's easy for me to skim through the short films at least. But anyway, it's all pretty good though. So,
Yeah.
however, we now need to move on because we need to introduce a guest, haven't we?
Yes. Speaking of short films and festivals, our guest for today was also have a lot of awards in a lot of experience in joining short films and festival. Before that, I want to say because there's a comment from Facebook there saying hello Rach.
Hi,
So
Rachel.
welcome to PinoyChap, and please join our please you can join our discussion later because it's all about filmmaking. So now we're going to introduce our friend, Direct Donnie, who is a filmmaker and he's living in Japan. He's a Filipino filmmaker, but he's now in Japan. So, hi, Donnie.
Hey guys, thank you
Hello there.
for thank you for inviting me. I mean, this is a really good opportunity, and it's a pleasure to be in this live stream show of yours. And it's an honor, guys. Sorry, I don't
Yeah,
have a fancy background, so
it's okay. It's okay. You
I'm no
know,
different. It's
yeah,
fine. It's
uh,
Rav's the one with the fancy
yeah.
yeah,
green
nice
screen.
green
Yeah,
screen, yeah.
yeah.
My dream car, time machine.
Your
Nice. Oh
DeLorean.
man,
Yeah,
The DeLorean,
Mandalorian,
yeah.
yeah,
mm.
yeah.
In my room.
I pref- I prefer the TARDIS myself. But
You kept it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. Donnie, so how have you been? How's your
Yeah, it's everything is cool here. Because of the pandemic, I mean, we cannot really do much.
Mhm.
So um, the weather is getting better here. Actually, this season is the best time to shoot in Japan. Actually, it's not too cold, not too hot.
Mhm.
Uh, but unfortunately, we have the COVID-19, so
Yeah, that's
we're all restricted and yeah, so I'm taking it easy actually. Now
mhm.
I'm just like doing research and thinking for the new concept that I have. And I just
Mhm.
finished a short film last month that is
Mhm.
for some government, Tokyo's metropolitan government program. So yeah, everything is cool.
Okay.
nice.
Nice. So
So what? Yeah,
go
you
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Adam. Go ahead, Adam. Go.
No, I was just gonna ask. Tell us about your background and how did you get started in filmmaking?
Okay. Yeah. So, long story. A long time ago, in a country far, far away. Well,
It's not
it's
that
funny
far,
because
really.
I didn't know. When I was in high school, I joined theater plays. we have these school assignments when we compete with other sections. So I was really active on those kind of activities, and I also like to draw. So sometimes I would write like some when my teacher is like giving lessons. I would sometimes draw something for my sitmate, and some short funny um stories. I but I still don't know. Like, I didn't know if that is actually leading to filmmaking or fine arts. So, when we were young, we were confused. We don't know what to do. And then after high school, I took fine arts advertising at UST. That is where, actually, that time we were in the same batch as Rav, but
Yeah,
we were not that.
the
I
same
think
section. We're not
not
in
same.
this.
Yeah, we're
They're
in this
different
different
section.
section. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think I'm irregular, so
Yeah.
that tells about my background. Uh, so sometimes I think some classes like we have the same we had the same classes, right? I think I remember you though. Basketball. We had
Yeah.
physical education.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but that time we were not so close,
So
and
yeah, we're not that close. Yeah. And
and I don't know. Like, it's funny because uh, fine arts also didn't work out for me. So I don't know. I'm so confused. I remember my mom. Uh, she was really mad because my grades are failing. I mean, from high school to college, and I'm telling her like I'm not stupid. It's just like I'm not interested in other things. I don't know what I want. And then one time we had this assignment in one of our classes in UST, University of Santo Tomas, where it was kind of like ad prac. The subject is called ad prac, and we had to do some report, and so my classmates they do this typical PowerPoint presentation stuff, and
Right.
I don't like it. I'm too bored with that. So I thought I had this best, my teammates, we decided like, let's do a short film. They're like, okay. So yeah, and we did it. And
you were
while
the
we're
one who
doing that
directed it.
process, we kind of like shared it. Like before, I still don't know what I want to do. So kind of, but yeah, I was with I think VJ and Tom Cos
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Sigarelli and Ryan Uson, I think, yeah. So four of us, we did this short film documentary, narrative and documentary.
Mm.
So, and I really like the process. Like I like this.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, like should I direct, should I act? But
Yeah.
one thing for sure, I know I love the process. But that time, we didn't have film schools, we didn't have indie
Yes.
films, like I don't know how can I become a filmmaker, a film director. I don't want to do the I don't want to do the typical lecture style where you sit inside a classroom and talk about films. I want
Yes.
the
Yeah.
hands-on
Yeah.
filmmaking. I want to
Yes.
know the process. And
Yes.
then
That
because
was my
my
problem with bachelor's degree. When I did that, I had to sit in a bloody lecture all the time. It was so dull. Whereas when I did my master's, it was practical. You learn so
Yes.
much more
Yes.
practically rather than doing
exactly,
theory.
Same. Yeah.
they're actually they're training you to become a movie critic, not
Yeah,
really a filmmaker.
anybody can be a
Yeah.
And
critic, really.
Yes.
exactly. And then since my grades are failing, so I have a relative in Shizuoka. It's a countryside. And she's my aunt, and my mom. Of course, my mom would complain to her like, "Donnie is not doing good at school." Oh, hi, mom, if you're watching. Um, and
Hopefully,
then
she's
my
not still complaining.
yeah,
No
the
comment.
filmmaking
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
And then my aunt, she told my mom, like, why don't we, she offered to help. Like, why don't we bring Donnie to Japan for a year? Just, I said, like, sure, why not? Like, soul searching in Japan, like, that time, 15 years ago, like, it's really hard to come to Japan. And then
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved to Japan. I was in this countryside, man. It's boring. It's nothing there. And I was in this Japanese school. It's crazy because I no one speaks. My classmates, they're also foreigners. They're foreign students, and they don't speak Japanese, and they also don't speak English. So we all look at each other, and
Sign language,
by
maybe.
exactly
Yeah.
after 3 months, finally I can ask what's their hobby. So it's like I don't know, like shit. I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do with my life? I took leave of absence in UST for a year. I said like,
Yeah.
should I go back to UST or I don't know. Like I thought Japan would be cool, but I was in this countryside. I was working as a butcher. That's my part time job, and I was teaching English also. And then one time I had a classmate. She is actually Chinese. We are Filipinos. We are very jolly. We like to joke and stuff like. So I'm cool
Yeah.
with everyone in the class
Yeah.
except for this Chinese girl. She's very quiet. She's she doesn't talk. And then one time I came. I think I had an appointment that got canceled, so I went to school too early, and she was there. The Chinese girl was there, and I was like, "Hey, hi." And she came to me. She gave me this book because most of the foreign students here, their purpose is to go to college to study college in Japan, and to be a college student here, you have to pass the the Japanese test, like proficiency test. It's just really difficult. So he said, like, maybe she thought I'm interested. Like, okay, I don't want to hurt her feelings, so I took it and I checked it. And when I flipped it, Tokyo Film Center School of Arts, film
There.
school.
Oh.
So, and it's the only school that accepts students without passing the Japanese proficiency. So I said, like, shit, I
Oh.
became so interested. So I told this Chinese girl, can I borrow this? I'll return it tomorrow. And he's like, go ahead, go ahead. And yeah, and I was like, I went back home. I talked to my aunt, like, I think I want to check this school. And
Mm,
that's the first time I visited Tokyo, actually. So I
mm.
was like, blown away. And then when I saw the school, oh man, I fell in
Fell in
love with
love.
it like right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the education that I want. The hands-on filmmaking. They
Mm.
have a studio, they have the theater, they have a post-production room, editing CG room. They have the actors studio. They have this. God, it's beautiful. Like
Is
students
this it?
are. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's our school, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Never mind my fashion that time. Just red hat. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
When was this? When did you film
that
this?
was 2007. That I
Bloody
think
hell!
that is the year. That's
Oh
Doug
God, it's
Campo,
Doug.
It's Doug is
my
there.
teacher. Yeah,
He was our teacher in America as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
Same.
So I'm going to that story, right? So
Yes.
and I immediately told my aunt I want to stay here.
Yes.
So I called my mom. I told her like I think I found this right school for me, and I want to do this. And of course, we cannot afford to be in a film school. So I said like, no, I'll pay for myself. The school agreed to do like study now, pay later.
Mhm.
So then I moved to Tokyo, and then I was doing two part-time jobs while attending the film school. And this is the thing: when I was at the university, I don't want to go to the classes because I'm not interested. But here it's like I don't want to leave the school. I mean,
Mm.
sometimes the teachers would beg me in the editing room, like, please leave, because we have to go home. I was like, shit, I mean, those days, I miss those days actually, where you have to, everything is still, we were at the last generation of the analog filmmakers, when we still have to use the firewire capture,
Capture
like these
everything.
days, yeah,
God,
these kids are like,
They're like
eh,
put the
point and
SD card
click.
and it's good.
Yeah.
and then because I had to think about the future, so of course, after film school, what's next, right? So the school administrator advised me, you should, why don't you take CG? Because I think when it comes to visa, people, post production people get more jobs, and they get, visa sponsorship. So I was like, yeah, I think that's cool, and maybe I can make a movie by myself,
Mm.
like Pixar or whatever. But God, man, I mean, it's so hard. And then my classmates, they don't talk, man. They're like geeks. And one time, my professor, he was sleeping in the class. I was like, what the hell?
This
And
classwork was that bad then, was it?
yeah, he would just give this exercises, and then okay, it's
Yeah.
a 3 hour class. But
Mm,
actually, it's good if you like CG, because you want to learn everything by yourself.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it's
yeah.
not for me. I got bored. And then, but in that film school, our program is like all students have to do basic classes. Like even if you're CG major, you have to take makeup, you have to take art department, you have to take
Mm.
cinematography, just to feel. And I kind of liked it.
Process. Yes,
And
yes.
then I met Mr. Doug Campbell,
Mhm.
and he's the guy who changed my life. We had to do this storyboard pitching, and I liked
Mm.
it, so I made this superhero called Bull Boy.
Oh boy.
So yeah, so and Doug liked it, and after that, he told me like, "Hey, why don't you become a director?" And I said like, he invited me to sat in one of his classes, and yeah, I think it works for me because I like working with people. I don't
Mhm.
want to sit at the desk and
Mm.
be isolated. I like to collaborate. I like to talk to
Yeah.
actors. I like to talk to cameramen. Yeah, and then yeah, since then I uh changed my major to directing.
Directing. So
So
The rest is
yeah,
history.
the rest is
exactly.
history.
Mm.
And then the funny thing is like Grav, like after like this was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, right?
4 years ago, I think. Yeah.
4 years
Uh,
ago, our common friend CJ from
CJ.
Nagoya
Yeah.
said like, "Hey Donnie, our friend Rav is in Tokyo for business. This is separate, not filmmaking related, but their
Yes.
family business." So I was like, "Oh, hey
Yes.
man." So I said like, "Yeah, yeah, I remember you. When I saw his picture, like, yeah, I remember this guy. He's also a filmmaker. Oh, he's a rival then." So and then and then when I added him on Facebook, we have a common friend. It's
Yeah.
Doug.
This dog.
Yeah,
How
it's
did
like,
you know
oh
dog?
shit. Yeah, it's like he's my teacher. He's also my teacher. Like, you know.
How come he's here in the U.S.? No, yeah, he's my teacher first in Japan. I said, oh, I see. He taught
Yeah.
in Japan. It's
God, man, he works so hard because he will come here around springtime only for 2 semesters, and he will fly back to the US,
Mm.
and
Mm,
he will shoot some feature films, and then he would teach in San Francisco.
San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Yeah, your
You mentioned
school.
it a few times because me and Raven didn't know each other at AAU, but
Yes.
I had directing class with Doug Campbell around fall of 2012, and he mentioned that he was going to Japan quite often,
Mm,
but he didn't
Yeah,
take
he's
us to Japan. We didn't go on a school trip or anything.
He's the
Oh
best,
wow.
man. I mean,
It would have
Doug,
been fun.
I owe him a lot. I owe him everything. I mean, he's the guy
Yeah.
who changed my life, and he's the best teacher. I mean, yeah. If it wasn't for him, I maybe I still figuring out what to do.
What to
But
do in your
yeah,
life? Yeah.
yeah,
And
Yeah, he
yeah.
put up with a lot of me complaining about directing because I stick to writing myself. I'm more of a
mm,
script writer, but I really struggled with the directing class because we had to do 3 films in that semester, and I did my
Mm.
best, and he appreciated my efforts. But in the class, I was always saying, "God, I hate directing. I can't do this. No, no, no."
mm.
Cringing, but no, he tolerated so much. Yeah.
We did the same thing. We had the Independent Day on the. I think that was every Friday. So when during the Independent Day, you are free to do your independent work.
Right.
But we have the directing class because in the real world, you will be asked to direct the story that you don't like sometimes.
Yes.
So we
Yeah.
also have that. Like we have in the directing class, we would direct stories that was written by
Someone
other
else.
someone
Mm.
else. And yeah, so it's a good training. But yeah, I like both. because I think there are different kinds of directors, like the writer director,
Yeah.
the director only. They get, mostly they get the jobs,
Direct.
the directors, yeah, because they
Yeah,
can
direct.
accept
Anything.
any projects, yeah. And then
Yeah.
the cinematography directors, and most of the time they get into trouble because they fight quite often with their cameraman and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm in a writer director, which is kind of
Yeah.
tough because, as you said, sometimes it's hard to write to direct someone else's story,
Stuff. Yes.
and at the
Me,
same time, mm,
I'm a writer, director, and producer at the same time.
mm,
I mean, I've dabbled with a bit of directing and producing and editing, but it's writing I stick to. And I personally prefer it when it's the director and the writer are two separate people, or at least
Mhm.
mm,
Yeah.
because I'd rather have, say a filter. The
yeah,
director has an idea, the writer goes and does it and collaborate on working together. Because from my perspective, whenever I've wrote and directed, you're
Mhm.
sometimes either fighting with yourself, trying to work out is this
mm,
good enough or whatever, or you're overlooking something as a result. Sometimes it's better to have that other person to point
Yes.
stuff out.
yeah.
That's
Some
the reason how I met Adam.
Yeah,
mm. I think it's
The
good, yeah, especially if you have a separate editor. So it's cool. I
yeah,
think directors should learn how to edit, but the
you need to
sometimes
give
you
it.
don't, you have blind sides, you don't
Yes. True.
yeah,
see some good points, and then your editor will do something like, wow,
Wow.
like I didn't think about this, and you
Yeah.
get the credit. The director will get the credit for that.
yeah.
And but mostly the actors will get more credit. But
Credit.
yeah, I
Yes.
think
Unless
I
the
also
director is
like
also the actor as well. Unless you're like
that.
Clint
I cannot
Eastwood
do
or
that. Yeah,
something, or Warren Beatty.
that's tough, man. I can't do that's that
It's
that I
very
cannot
hard.
do. I can't act
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
direct. Yeah.
that's what killed my passion for directing when I've had to act in it as well when trying to balance
Mm,
both of them. It's no.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah. How's your how's your process in doing filmmaking, especially in Japan? It's different from
Mm,
the way we, like me and Adam, we were trained in the US, so it's easy.
mm,
Everyone is speaking in English. In Japan, I know
mm.
you need to collaborate with local Japanese people. So was it hard?
It's hard, yeah. I mean, filmmaking is always is hard, right? But
Mm,
again, the process is uh there are different there are three types of I don't know, industry here. The
mm,
mainstream filmmakers. So basically, these are the big studios owned filmmakers. That's Toho Studios.
Toho.
They get, they make these big projects, and they always it's always convenient because they have the big toys. They can afford it. They can have the big stars.
Yes.
These are the mainstream, and then we have the independent Japanese productions.
Mm,
And again, if you're not part of that circle, I don't think you will be alienated. Like it's really hard because in Japan, hierarchy is very important, like the senpai and kohai mentality. Like, okay,
Oh,
I am the senior, so my juniors will have to follow whatever I
really?
I say, yeah. And you cannot,
So
senpai is always right, so something like that. I mean, that's
Even when they're
still a
wrong.
very, yeah. So, and plus it's really hard to break in if you don't know anyone in that circle, in that group. Then it's hard for a foreigner to be part of it, unless, because there are also two types of foreigners here.
mhm.
The the expats who are like, just being themselves, and then there are foreigners who are like, we want to be Japanese, like, and they also hate other foreigners because we speak perfect Nihongo, and they are the ones who usually can get into this, independent uh, circle. And then there is the expat independent filmmakers.
Mhm.
That is where I actually move around, and yeah. So these expat filmmakers, we also have Japanese actors, we have Japanese crew, and yeah, people from UK, from the US, from
Feel-
India, from Philippines. Yeah, so we have this community here,
mhm.
and yeah, it's tough because it depends on what project you're doing. If I'm doing a movie about a Japanese story, then
Mm-hmm.
of course my actors are Japanese and
Mm-hmm.
my crew are mixed. Uh, we're like United Colors of Benetton. We have American, we have Chinese, Korean, and Filipino. So I have to speak, English and Nihongo at the same time. And
Same
sometimes
time.
some of my Japanese colleagues, they can speak also, good English, so they would translate things for me.
Mm.
And then sometimes I have to, when I do projects with Filipino actors, because
Mm-hmm.
some of my projects are about the stories of Filipinos in Japan. That's tough because I have to direct in three language: Tagalog, English, and
In
Japanese.
Japanese,
So
it's
yeah,
Schizophrenic. Yes.
yeah,
mm.
and it's honestly it's really tough, because again, when I write, I'm saying this with honesty and based on my real experience. When I write stories about Japan, for example, the story is for Japanese. When I
Mm.
pitch to producer, sometimes they will give me like, "Oh, this is too foreigner. Like this is too, it's not
Foreign, but
so
mm.
Japanese." Yeah. So I think, I don't know if it's bullshit or not. If it's just their way to kind of like shut me out, shut me up. But yeah. But when I write a story about Filipinos in Japan, and then
Mm.
oh, you know this, you
Mm.
should know this, so you are the right person to that. So I realized like
Mm.
maybe this, I would go for this niche, like I will
Yes,
be the
telling.
the Filipino, the director who would tell the stories of Filipinos in Japan,
Yes.
although it's not really the genre that I want to focus on, but I think maybe better to start from there.
Mm.
So yeah, and again, it's very challenging. You can have crew here like cinematographers, sound guys, actors,
Mm.
and then the shooting in Japan is really lenient. It's easy actually. I mean, I experienced shooting at the Philippines. Like getting permission is tough. I thought Philippines will be more easier, but actually, it's the other way around.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, and here the problem actually for foreigners here is once your film is done, then the distribution. Okay,
Mm.
so how are you going to distribute it? That's the most challenging part. So, okay, you don't have named actors, you don't have, your audience is very focused on it's very art house
Mm.
and yeah, most of my independent director
Mm.
expats here in Japan, that's actually the challenge they're
Mm.
having now is like they cannot get distribution. It's hard for them to get distribution. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
plus the
okay.
competition with the Japanese independent filmmakers. So of course we'll go with our, you know,
Uh,
What's established?
yeah.
established. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the reality. But yeah.
How
Mm.
about the what you call this? The cost. Is it cheaper to make a film in
Okay.
Japan or in the
The
Philippines?
the thing actually, the Philippines is much expensive. I thought
Really?
it's the other way around. Yeah. Okay,
Really?
here in Japan, we have
Yes.
this thing. The one thing I like about Japan, the expat,
Yes.
uh, of course, there are people who want to get paid. Like if you don't pay me, I'm not gonna work for you. But
Mm.
there are also people who are okay with I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Okay.
So we understand it. Like okay,
Mm.
if your project is a short film, it's a passion project.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't have money to pay me.
Mm.
So sure. I'll work for you for free. But if I need your help, it's like like Don Corleone. Someday I'm gonna ask for your help, but I don't know when it's that. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
You know.
exactly, like
Horses' heads in bed, things like that. Yes.
Don Corleone, like,
Don
and
Corleone.
exactly. So someday I might ask for your service. I don't know when, but so we have that understanding in Japan when you can have free crew, but
Mm.
someday you need to help them and you kind of need to adjust if you're asking them to work for you like free bono. You cannot really demand too much, so you have to
Mm.
adjust with the schedule. And then but there's a limitation for that. If you ask them, keep on asking them for working for free, then okay, dude, you know.
Yeah.
So
Has there ever been an occasion where you've done someone a favor and then they don't return the favor? Has that ever happened?
Yes.
yes,
Yeah, that's
Really?
what I thought. It's
yes,
just that's all over the world, really. 'Cause
Mm,
yeah.
we've all been there, I guess. Then,
yeah.
so
And when it comes to locations, yeah, man, Philippines was, bro. I was so shocked. Like, you know, we have to pay for every, you
Yeah.
know, like, man, like, and the funny thing is, like, because I thought like, oh, we're gonna shoot it in Payatas, right? Like I thought like
Yes.
it's gonna be cheap, but man, they
Yes.
know the rate, man. They work with this big production company, so they know
How
exactly the
much?
rate, how much, you know. So
Yes.
in
Oh,
Japan, if
Payatas
you
is for Adam. Payatas is the our. It's a place where what do you call this? The garbage dump. It's
yeah,
oh,
a
it's a like the ghetto. Like
yes.
it's
yeah,
it is people live there, but it's not desirable. It's like
Yes.
very very
It's
poor
yeah,
a
areas. The
it's a
like the
it's a
province.
mountain of trash. Yeah. It's a no.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay.
in the it's in the city. It's still
Oh,
it's
okay.
near our place, but
mm,
it's full of trash. Mountain of trash. So people
mm,
are living in by getting recycling
I
trash.
don't think I ever saw because actually I don't know if you know Donnie. I have been to the Philippines. I went to
Yes.
Manila
mm,
in
mm.
2016. I don't remember anything like that though.
No,
Any mountains of trash.
yeah,
Actually, that was the
it's
first time. That's the first time for me to
too
because I was from Cavite. I'm not a Manila boy. I'm not a city
uh,
yes.
boy. I'm from the yeah suburbs. You know, Cavite. We call it
Country boy,
Cavite.
yeah.
Country.
Country boy. Yeah. So yeah, I haven't been there, and I mean the first time I went, I was so shocked actually. Like wow,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
like
it's
these
different.
things really exist. You know.
Yes.
And yeah, Quiapo, man, that was like, oh, I don't know. It was, I was so shocked when we shot at Quiapo. Like, oh man,
Yes.
uh,
Everything.
they always say like, I don't know, you know, I don't know. It's like, hey, dude, you work here, but that's the strategy, you know. They will keep delaying
Ah,
you until
Yeah.
they will surprise you later on.
yeah.
It's like a technique, and now I know. So
Yes.
in Japan,
That
for
was your first time
example,
to shoot here in the Philippines,
yeah,
right?
that's my first time to shoot. And then it's funny because I have a friend. He's a cinematographer in the Philippines. He's Japanese, but he's based in the Philippines, and you know he's doing like really big production shoots. Like he's doing mostly commercials, but he's done some feature films as well. And he gave me advice like, dude, it's much more expensive here. And I was like, no, that's bullshit. You know, I was like, that's not true, right? Can't be. But yeah, after we shot Nena, I was like, dude, you know, I should have listened to you. You know? So like I told you, you know, it's like, and because in Japan, like locations are actually free. You can shoot in the streets. Um, uh, their rule is like if you don't have, if you're not setting up dollies, tripods, if you're doing handheld,
It's okay.
then the one thing I like about Japan, it's like you have free extras. Japanese people don't look in the camera, you know. It's like, you know, when you shoot, like people don't look at the camera. So and places like Shibuya, Shinjuku, these famous districts, actually, it's easier to shoot there.
Mm-hmm.
It's much difficult to shoot in the suburbs because the residential areas, the residents will call the police like, hey,
Mm.
but I think those the public places, especially those famous, yeah, these places. Sometimes the yakuza's will give you a hard time, like, hey, you know, what are you guys doing? The
The
yaks, you
Yakuza.
know, we call them like them, yeah. But we'll,
That
if
sounds
you're
very
not from,
polite. They come
yeah,
and ask you what you're doing. If they're a gang, surely they'd just be attacking you. Like,
they would just, if you say you're from a big production company, like you know, TV
They need.
station or big, then they will kick you out. But you know, it's a Donie Ordiales production, so who gives a shit? Ah, okay, go ahead, you know. So something like that.
Yeah.
If it's easy. I mean, did we did this like I asked for a permission, but the police department told me like, nah, you don't need a permit. Just don't bother don't stop the traffic.
mm,
Okay.
Just let the people walk. But the good thing about Japanese people, they don't look at the camera, you know.
So
Mm.
all of these are real people
Yeah,
doing their
real
business.
people. Yeah,
Mm.
that's why it's a bit hard to do the editing because again, these people will not pass again.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
yeah, so these are all yeah,
So you
they're
don't
not
need to
part of the
set
team.
up. You don't need to set up lights like that. Or it's okay.
Sometimes we do, but we have to do like the handheld, you know, like these days we can afford that the
Mm-hmm.
LED. Like here we were doing like battery powered lights.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
What were you
uh,
What were you doing for sound? Did you have a boom mic, or did they all have
yeah,
radio
boom mic.
mics? Okay.
We have boom mic. My our sound guy here, Paul Doroshevich. I hope you're watching right now. He's a very good sound guy. So
All right.
sometimes we use lapel mics, but you know
Mm.
we're independent, so we can only afford like one or
Two.
two.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have to use the boom
Everyone
mic,
get
and
in this
Yes.
crowd. You're probably saying like everyone get really close to each other.
exactly.
Got me picked up.
And I don't know, man. Sound is like one thing that I really don't want to touch. It's so hard, man. I don't
Mm.
know how.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that some people. Rob likes to do it.
Yes, I love to do sounds.
Yeah, I
A
don't
lot of the
like
short films
dubbing,
a lot of the short films I did in America were all silent movies,
but
just to save time. Yeah.
actually, silent movies is the best training for
Mm.
to become a director.
That's
And
that's what Doug did. I don't know if he did it for your class,
no, yeah,
Rafe.
that's
He
actually
did for
that's
me,
our first assignment,
where you had to
short
do
silent film.
no sound whatsoever because he'd be putting it on mute anyway.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did that, but I did put sound effects in mine. But I said to him, "There's no dialogue. Can we listen to the sound effects?" No. So never mind. Because
yeah.
it was for comedy effect. That was the reason.
Mm,
Uh,
I'm also not fan of dubbing. Sometimes you cannot avoid it. Sometimes you
yes.
like ADR,
Yeah.
because it for me it ruins the performance. You know, I mean, you cannot really bring back the Japanese productions like ADR. You know, so I don't know. Maybe it changed, but
Yeah.
uh, some people I know they prefer doing the dubbing,
Mhm.
and for me, it doesn't feel right. You know, I like the actual. I mean, sometimes it can't be helped. You know, you messed up the sound, and you have to bring the actors back, and you know, but the momentum and everything, it's better to capture them live. You know.
Oh yeah. I've
Mhm.
done dubbing
Yeah.
on the opposite end of the spectrum as well because I co-wrote a short film for another student in America. She didn't like the actor that did this performance, so she got me to voice him. Now I
Okay.
think he was like a Chinese kid or something. So hearing my voice coming out of this Chinese kid was just it. The
They
dubbing was spot on. The lip sync was absolutely perfect, but
Well,
it just
but
looks
the
so weird
accent.
seeing my voice coming out of the kid.
they did the same thing before. I mean, you know, in the Philippines, they used to air
Yes,
Chinese
sure.
like "you bastard, you fight me kung fu," you know, something like that. Like the dubbing was really bad.
Yeah,
Yes.
So yeah, I prefer the live the
it
and
just saves
man, I
time.
mean, Cha and Rav did a good
That's
job with Nena, man. I was like, you know,
thank you.
because Philippines, man, I mean,
It's so
there's like weird sounds everywhere, you know, like
yes, like chicken,
dogs,
dogs,
chickens,
motorcycles passing by, airplanes
vendors, you know.
passing by, vendors ringing the bell. So a lot.
Exactly.
That's why I
Crazy,
always
you know.
tell Donnie, okay, wait, let it pass, let it pass. Okay, go,
Yeah,
go,
it's
go.
like at least
Yeah,
here in Japan, like, you know, yeah, people are quiet. We can only hear that if you're shooting away from the station, the train station. So when we look for locations, we choose the area
mm,
that is away from the
drinks.
train station. Although sometimes picture wise they look better, you know, when you have these trains
Actually,
running around.
yes.
So yeah, that's why sometimes when we do interior shoots, we prefer to shoot it like outside of Tokyo, like Saitama or Kanagawa, because it's more quiet around those areas. So
Mm.
yeah.
And
Mm.
it's good that the Japanese are not looking and not smiling here in the
Yeah,
Philippines. If they see a camera, that everyone's like, smiling and waving in the camera.
Do you not?
Yeah.
Do you not even get like people just following you around, like being interested in the filmmaking? Do you get like just crowds just watching you film, even if they're not on
It,
camera?
In the
it,
Philippines?
No, either
in,
country, really, both Japan and the Philippines. Because I've
in
had
Jap-
that a few times, both in America and in the UK.
Here in the Philippines, it's more of they want to be in front of the camera. They want to be
mm,
in the frame. So they
Yeah,
will like
mm,
wave at the camera, even though they're very far away. They're just waving and
mm,
smiling. So sometimes it's a good thing, but sometimes it's bad because it ruins the shot.
yeah.
Especially
mm.
if you're doing a dramatic scene and somebody's doing like that at the end of
It's
the
obvious
frame.
at this stage,
It's
yeah.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, and smiling and waving. So yeah.
But what
How
about the
about
other end when they're just wanting to see you make the film, just watching you do the whole thing? Do they do that as well?
there? Some are kids
Yeah,
asking how do you do that, but
Mm.
for adults they don't. They're usually just
they mind their
uh,
own business.
yeah.
Mm.
But the kids are asking how, oh, this is how you do the film like that.
Yeah.
Always
If they're
always
not on the
ask.
frame, it's okay, yeah.
So do they do that in Japan as well? Do you have like people, kids or adults, just watching
Not
you film?
much, yeah, not much. Some people are waving, but they're foreigners too,
Yeah,
Drunk foreigner in Shibuya, like waving. One guy, like keep on shoot like taking pictures, and there's like a flash. So every
Yes.
time I told him, like, dude, your camera is a flash. I appreciate that you're
you
taking
need
a picture,
you
but
need to
we're doing something.
you need to be friends with the yakuza. And get them
Exactly,
to
kick them
charge
out.
you.
But I don't think if I can afford them, the
Ah,
protection from the yaks. But
scratch their back and they'll scratch yours.
exactly, someday I don't know when, but I'll get the favor back,
Yeah,
that kind of
Yeah.
exactly.
like that's gonna be a scary. But yeah, I mean, in Japan, not much because people here are very shy, so they don't really
Right.
they mind their own business. Um, but in the Philippines, I remember, and especially we shot with a named actor like Ian.
Yes. Ian, Ian.
Yeah, he when we shot, like you can hear people, you
Oh,
know,
people
calling
are
him
gathering.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like gathering and hey
Gathering.
Ian,
Ian, Ian, Ian. We're like,
it's Christmas time. Where's my Christmas? Something like
yeah. That's
that. It's like
so a lot of celebrities here in the Philippines give away something in Christmas.
yeah,
So it's like they're so they think all of celebrities are like that. All
Right.
celebrities are rich. So yeah,
yeah,
that,
and
that was crazy. Like I was doing audio and I was doing security thing. I said, hey, you go out, come out.
the funny thing is like because the location where we shot. I mean, we don't have a big crew. It was like a really small crew, right? Like you
Yes,
don't even notice like there's film crew
doing
shooting there, right?
yes.
And I was shocked. Like after like 5 minutes, wow, like of course I like the attention. Oh man, I feel important, but it's a hassle because if the government, the police, or the barangay, how can I explain barangay in English?
Mm.
But
I,
this
I,
this guards, the town guards, I don't know how do you the
yeah,
local,
village guards or town guards like that. Yeah.
yeah. If they find out, then it's gonna be a problem. You have to pay them. And I was like, oh, that time I was like, shit. People are like gathering around. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, they're saying hi to him, and I was like, shit. We have to wrap this like really
We
quick.
need to finish everything.
Yeah. In
Yeah.
Japan, especially if you're shooting for example, in Shibuya, like around close to midnight, they sometimes shut the lights out. Like, for example, the scramble, the scramble crossing, in Shibuya,
Yes.
the famous crossing. People
Yes.
like to shoot there.
Mhm.
And sometimes okay, you have the master shot, you have the close up, and you need
Yeah.
two more shots, and then okay, action, and then boom, they shut the lights off because it's already 12. Sometimes that happens. So shit, you have to really plan your
Shut.
It used
uh
to
in,
happen a lot in the UK as well with the BBC. They would always turn the electricity off at 10 o'clock. So
Oh.
productions like, say, for example, soap operas or Doctor Who, they had to
Mhm.
film everything by 10 o'clock that day. Otherwise, they just cut off the electricity.
No.
So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And one thing I liked about Doug is like he taught us those,
Mm,
techniques. Like, Doug is a hardcore independent film director. That's why I learned a lot from him. And yeah, I mean, if you're doing, because we are independent, filmmakers here in Tokyo, right? And we mostly do
mm,
guerrilla shoots. And if you plan everything, then yeah, you will succeed. But
mm,
if you don't do some research or you didn't plan
mm.
really well, then chances are you will fail. And I
Yeah.
Yes.
think same in the Philippines, so
Yes.
mm,
If you here, especially here in the Philippines, like if you don't plan for the weather, you're dead.
Mm,
oh yeah, that's one
Yeah.
thing. The
We like
weather.
we were shooting. It was sunny at morning, then suddenly
Mm,
at the afternoon, it was raining hard, and it messed up the audio actually because I cannot use the boom anymore
mm,
because the roof is just a single roof, and that's it. You can hear all
Philippines. Mm.
the
yeah.
tapping of the said, "Oh my god!" And I was in my headphones. That how can we do this? I moved the boom mic everywhere. Said it's still bad.
Uh, well, it's the actually the challenge. But I remember when I screened it to the Nena, before I locked the picture, I screened it to some people. One lady asked me, like, how come it was raining in this part and then the next scene it was sunny? So like everyone who lives in a tropical country knows that that's legit. like
Nice
like
one.
have you been to
Yeah.
Florida? You should try Florida. Florida's weather is worst, man. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so I told him, like, yeah, that's actually normal in tropical countries. Like, we shot this scene on the same day actually, so that's the way it is. And then, yeah, I mean the weather. But the thing is, like, because I've been to Japan like long enough, like been here for 15 years now, and I didn't know this is like the climate change, because around New Year we shot Nena
Mm,
around December 27, I think that is before New Year.
mm. Before
Before,
we
when I
go,
was there, it doesn't rain. We didn't, that time before, we didn't have
yes,
typhoon, we didn't have rains, but
yes,
I was shocked because, man, the whole 3 days it was raining, right? And
yes.
finally it stopped when we wrapped. So I
So
was like, what the hell?
so yeah, this is
Yeah,
Nena. I think. Yeah, this is Ian. Uh,
yeah, our
the
and
is the so you can see Adam and we're shooting on those parts of the Metro Manila, so
Right. Okay.
it's so it's
the
crazy.
most expensive, the most expensive scene,
Shoot. Yeah.
the Quiapo Plaza Miranda scene.
The one with the church, and there's
Yeah.
a rule that
I
you
think,
you
is that the church that's? Did you say this was in Manila? This
yes
scene.
in Manila,
Yeah.
yeah.
I, I think that's the church I'm thinking of. I have been.
Mm.
What was the name of it? I believe I've
Quiapo,
been
Plaza
in it.
Miranda.
That's the one in the center.
Nazareno?
In the
yes.
town
Nazareno.
centre. Yeah, I've been in there. Yeah, I remember now.
Mm,
I'm terrible
So
with names. Sorry.
mm.
so yeah, this was the Nena that we shot 2 3 years ago, I think. Donnie?
2000, I think that 2018, the end of
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
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 It's my first time to shoot in the Philippines.
Mm.
Um, I thought, like, because I want to make connections. And this is another problem for my case because, okay,
Mhm.
I'm an expat director in Japan. So, I don't want to say there, I mean, sometimes you get, the prejudice and stuff like that. Like when I
Mm.
pitch to producers, they're like, oh, you are from Philippines, like you haven't done a feature film. Why don't you go to Philippines first, do a feature film there, and then come back, and we'll talk. And then in the meantime, your script, maybe we'll have our director direct it. But my point is like, hey, I want to direct my own,
Yeah.
project. So, and then when I go to Philippines, I don't have connections there, you know. So I don't know if this is true, but based on my observation, they also have their factions,
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
like in the Philippines,
all over
they
the
also
world,
have their groups. Yeah.
UK.
Yes. Yes.
So I was like, okay, because I pitched to the different groups. You know, I of course I'm building my connections. I didn't know that. Okay, this group is, if you work with this group, then it's gonna be difficult for you to work
With other
to
group.
join this group. You know,
Yes.
so it was tough. You know,
Yes.
and yeah, man. So that's actually my problem. But the my advantage is like sometimes I get the interest of the actors because they all want to act in Japan.
Hmm.
And again, my script, it's hard for directors in the Philippines to direct it because if the story is about Filipinos in Japan, I know better because I lived here, you know. So
Yes.
sometimes, okay, it's, you know, yeah, they can make a movie. They shot some movies in Japan with Filipino actors, but if people from Japan watch it, it will not look like, okay, this is not our lives, you know. Yeah, maybe Filipinos in the Philippines would understand, would like it,
It's
will
not
watch it,
realistic.
but for the Filipinos here, no, it's not really. It's that's not the Japan, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's it's
And
it's tough. Yeah.
we have some comments here for Donnie. So let's
Oh,
go over. So Angel from Angel
ah,
Papadella. Hello,
hello,
Puderek.
Angel. Hello, Papa Nila. Yeah,
Hello, Angel.
hello,
You're gonna have
Pop.
to translate, Brave. I
Yeah.
can't
They
read that.
say Hel- hello po Direct Donnie, Donnie, Ray, Ordiales, and Direct Carabien. Stay safe always po. So she's just saying that say
She's only
hello.
talking to you two. Yeah,
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 she's
I'm being
she's
ignored.
she's the mother of one of our actress, like
actress.
All
Yeah.
right.
child actress. Yeah,
So
and yeah,
there's
she's a good actress. And
another greeting for Donnie.
hello,
Hi Donnie.
Hazel. Oh, Hazel, is she
Hazel
from CFAD?
Sipad, yes.
Yeah, hello, Hazel.
And another one from our production manager.
Oh,
Hmm. Yeah.
hello.
So
Any
they're
extra
all.
Kamusta
questions?
po?
Oh, can you ask
Hello,
questions?
Manay.
Yeah, feel free.
Manay.
Ask
Feel
questions.
free
Go
to
ahead.
ask questions.
Yep, hit me.
Yeah.
And direct is the direct. How can I say direct? We call directors. It's like what's the word for that? Like
Direct.
uh, y-
It's
for
like
example,
it's a what do you call this? It's
doctors. We call doctors like doc or
doc.
attorney.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Lawyers,
nickname.
attorney.
You're
Yes.
thinking a nickname.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
direct.
So direct. So if you're a director,
I don't
people
know
will call
any
you direct. You know,
Direct.
hey direct.
Yeah. It's like what
boss. I think.
like a boss and
Yeah.
boss Adam like direct Rob, direct
Maybe
Adam like
Sir
that.
Adam, Sir.
Sir
So
I mean,
direct.
Adam.
I've heard like derogatory terms. Like, do you know, for example, when Megan Fox was in the Transformers films
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
and she described Michael Bay as Hitler? There's I've
Oh,
heard
yeah, I've
English
heard about that.
descriptions,
Yeah.
but I've
Yeah.
never actually heard any like common nicknames. Nothing like that. I've just heard like people
Mm.
describe him as a
Yeah.
person they don't like or whatever. But
Here it's like
I just get direct to myself.
word of endearment. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Sometimes I feel
Megan was
like,
not being endearing.
yeah,
It's
direct.
a no, it's a respect
Yeah,
word.
Respect, yeah, for the directors.
Not endearment. Sorry, the wrong term.
Direct, direct. Yeah.
Direct, hey,
So
direct. They respect you.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Nena, Donnie. So, did
it's
you?
tough. Uh, this year, because of the pandemic, actually I joined uh some festivals. Unfortunately, yeah, we got declined at some,
Mhm.
and but these festivals are actually like the big ones, so I was kind of like, what am I thinking? These are
Yeah.
of course, the Venice Film Festivals. You know when they send you this copy and paste reply, like,
Oh yeah.
And but the other thing is like I realized like okay, most of the festivals are being held online now. So for me, it's like okay, what's the point? So I cannot go in because the main point of joining a festival is to meet people, you know, to experience the screening. But if I'm not gonna do that, then what's the point, right? So
Mhm.
there's one festival and I'm waiting. Actually, the notification will be by the end of this month. It's
Mhm.
it will be in Shibuya and Sasebo. It's in Nagasaki.
Mhm.
So they will screen the movies at an actual movie theater.
Mhm.
So I kind of like that. And since I'm in Japan, so if we got selected, then you know I would experience joining physically the event, and so I'm waiting for the notification by the end of this month. So you know I'm starting to pray the rosary again, going to the church and praying for you know hope we get this.
Yes.
Well,
But worst case
fingers crossed
scenario,
for you. Yes.
exactly, you know, worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, then yeah, I think I might just do an online screening because I
Yes.
don't want to submit this again and wait. Most of the festivals are for 2020 are over, right? So
Yeah.
they're now open for 2021, which will be, you know, mid like next year, like around the event dates are like May, July. It's too long for me, so I have to move on, I think. So I think worst case scenario is which is a good trial for us, I think. Why don't we use this platform, you know, like online? People are watching movies online anyway.
Yeah.
Instead of paying them, we can get paid, you know, not
Yes.
much, but you know, so I'm that's actually my goal. If in case, knock on wood, if
Mhm.
we don't get selected in that festival, then I'm gonna start doing the online screening. So and move on, you know. So that's my plan for Nena.
Okay.
But yeah, there's one festival, Sapporo Short Fest. It's one of my target festivals, you know.
Okay.
And I think I posted it on Facebook, and
Yes.
I waited for like 6 months, you know, and then finally they sent out the notification. And
Mhm.
we were not selected, but they released another list. It's like the special mention.
Are you a
I
wild card?
will, yeah, like okay, these are the best, good, great films. These movies are great, but it's not gonna be on our program. And I kind of have
Honorable
a mixed
mentions. Yeah.
feelings.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had a mixed feelings about it, so I sent them a message. I told them like I appreciate, you know, the
The gesture.
compliment, but the gesture, I know your intention, but this is kind of like hurting the promotion because film festival programmers they check, you know, which movies are showing in the other festivals,
Yeah.
and if they see like, yeah, of course they want to get the best films, you know, they're not gonna get the
Yes.
so yeah, and I told him like I appreciate it if you just you know if you like the movie and you didn't select it. I mean, an email, sending emails is the best. I think it's the
Mm.
safest way
Yes.
to
Yes.
you know to do it. You know but putting out a list of the good films but not selected you will kind of have like a mix. I don't know if it's just me or but I told him better to be safe, I think.
Oh yeah, because
So
I've submitted some films to like the Cannes Film Festival. I've been there a couple of times as well, but they, for example, want first right on a film. They don't want you to submit it anywhere else. They want if they do select it, they want to be the first ones to show it. So no, you
yeah,
made the right choice.
Yes.
and that's the thing about the thing about festivals, because now there's so much film festivals.
Yeah,
Like they do this, people are now obsessed with the laurel leaf, like um uh,
Film
as,
Freeway has its own
as long
team.
as exactly as long as you have the laurel leaf, you're legit filmmakers. Like it's
Yes.
bullshit,
Yeah, it's
and it's hard because okay, you have to wait for 6 or 8 months to get the notification, and the thing
Yes.
about it is you have to do a premiere, world premiere. If you get selected, then you have to
Okay.
decide because
yeah,
you have to only to show it only in their on their festival, and if you're let's say you get selected on three film festivals, then you have to decide which festival would you want to show your movie.
Yeah.
And but imagine, like, you have to wait for this long time, and then suddenly you're not selected, and okay, and then you cannot submit the same project again next year because
Yes.
they only accepted movies that were produced like a year ago. So that's kind of like, I
Out of
understand that for,
funds. Yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes.
for feature film it makes sense because it's commercial film, right? Like,
Mhm.
okay, but for short films, come on, they should be a bit lenient, I think.
Mhm.
It's also
Yes.
the price
So
as well. You were talking about waiting for several months to get the
Mhm.
notification, but the
yeah.
advantage of that is it's cheaper to send it very early, but of course you don't have to wait a really long time. Or you can wait until it's very close to the deadline, but then so you don't have to wait too long, but it
Yes.
costs like 3 times as much.
Mhm.
But the other thing is, like, yeah, I don't really know if they watch your film or not, because
Mhm.
yeah, they said it themselves, like they have like 4,000 entries,
Mhm.
4,000
Yeah.
films, and they will only select seven.
Mm.
Yes.
And sometimes I would give them the Vimeo link and there were no views, so that means like they didn't watch it.
Mhm.
And so I
Well,
think it's not about how good your movie is, because again, in that film festival I'm talking about, the Sapporo Film Festival, so when I saw the list, the movie, I think above Nena, I checked it, and actually it won the best short film in Toronto International Film Festival,
Wow.
but
right.
it was declined in
Sapor.
Sapporo Short Fest. So I was like, it's, again, it's not about how good your movie is. Sometimes they just select whatever, or
It's the
sometimes if
it's
this,
all based on the voter in person, like the
Mhm.
individual.
yeah,
Because I mean, I'm voting for BIFA, British International
Mhm.
Film Festival, and I do make sure I watch all the films, but I
Yes.
can't I can't control what the other voters are like. Maybe they don't watch them all. Who knows?
mm,
Oh, okay.
It depends.
that's
So,
why sometimes I think it's beneficial for us independent filmmakers that these platforms, these online platforms, because
yes.
these are a way to showcase our movies without,
Yeah.
I don't say, of course, film festivals are very important for us, but I think, we somehow we need to find a way, other way to showcase our
Mm.
project. So
Yes.
uh,
So yeah. Any Donnie, we're close. There was a lot to talk about. We are now in our we already talked about
wow,
one
time
hour
flies,
already.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, time
Wow.
flies. Yeah. So
Final thoughts.
any final thoughts or message to all the filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers out
Or where
there?
can we find you on social media if you want to
Yeah.
promote
Also,
it?
yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, I'm pretty. I think this is one of the problems. I'm really poor with marketing. I mean, social media, I only use Facebook actually,
Mm.
and people are telling me, yeah, why don't you have Instagram? And I cannot even handle Facebook. But someday, now I want to focus on, because again, it's sometimes it's hard to market myself too much when I don't have something to, for me,
Promote.
I want to, yeah, to promote. So sometimes I want to focus on uh to, to make to debut a feature film, and then
Mm.
if that happens, then that's the time I'm gonna, okay, market myself.
Mm.
But yeah, I have my website
Mm.
and my Facebook page,
Mm.
and yeah, I mean, people actually can check it out. My past projects are all in there except for Nena.
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, I use Facebook more often, and I don't
Okay.
have other platforms. And I remember, yeah, I want to talk about Adam's question last time
Yes.
about how to be, you know, how to become an expat, if you want
Oh yes.
to
Sorry,
live in Japan.
actually blanked for a
Yeah,
second what you were referring to because I
yeah, yeah,
asked
that
and
one.
I
Yeah,
asked you earlier about animation as well. So I thought,
mm.
which one is it going to be?
Ah,
But
Yeah.
no, we'll talk about expert. Yeah, go ahead with that one.
I think in Japan, when it comes to visa, most of the artists here, the filmmakers, we do a day job because again, first is the visa. It's hard to get a long-term resident visa.
Mm.
So I think it's hard for artists to. I think it's not enough to justify. So you will need a day job. Like most of the filmmakers here, they have a day job not related to films. Sometimes they're English teachers, sometimes they are videographers, sometimes they're IT. You know, uh,
Experts. And then,
yeah, experts. We need that to to support our filmmaking uh, career and our the visa. And if you have a wife, a Japanese national spouse, then that's
Mm.
the other way. But I think it's yeah. Those are actually the ways how to become. But when it comes to like crew,
mm,
yeah, you can get English speaking cinematographers, sound, like name it, gaffers, art
mm,
department, actors. Yeah, you can have it all here. Uh, and again, the other problem with Japan is like your concepts and resources are limited. Then, if of course, if you're an expat in Japan, then you have to write a movie about Japan.
mm,
So, but it's advantageous for you because you are from UK, so you can go to other countries, and like us from
Not right
Philippines, like we have
now. Yeah. I want
yeah,
to.
to apply for
Can't right now, irritatingly.
we
yeah.
have to apply for visas, in every country. I mean, so I know people who kind of move around. I
Mm.
know some
Mm,
artists who like okay, they would do a project in Japan, and then after a few months they go back to Europe and the US, and so
yeah.
yeah, but I think if it's a very interesting place.
Mm,
The movie business is tough in Japan because
Mm.
Japanese don't really. Of course, they are movie fans here, but movie is not their number one.
It's not part of
Uh,
the culture, no. I get you.
yeah,
Anime is number one, I think.
actually, variety show is number one.
Oh, really? Variety show.
Yeah,
Right.
variety. Like man, from day. Sometimes it's cool when I was due to Japan. I like it. Oh, variety shows in Japan are funny. Stupid and funny. But man, from daytime until
Night.
midnight, if you're just only showing variety shows, it's just like, and they're only talking about food and foreigners, food and foreigners, food and foreigners. It's like, you know, and even Japanese filmmakers, agree with me. It's a competition for directors and actors here because they want to do, more narrative, but they can't because um, uh, variety shows are easy to produce. You just
Mm,
talk shit and that's it.
Yeah.
Just all you need is a studio. That's it. It's cheaper,
yes.
and again, people watch that. And then manga. Japanese love to watch, to read manga,
Yeah.
and then anime, and
Okay.
then films.
Films. Oh, it's
So
yeah.
plus again, I really envy Korea because South Korea. I mean, they produce so many great films. The industry is very strong. In
Mm,
Japan, even the mainstream are struggling actually because again, Japanese people will watch Hollywood films first before the mainstream and art
Mm.
house films. If you didn't win any awards from
mm,
festivals, then it's really hard to sell it. So yeah, it's
yeah.
it's it's a challenge, but you have more opportunity actually to distribute your movie outside Japan. So if you shot a movie in Japan, it's better to distribute it in Europe and the US.
Mm.
Okay. It's
So that's the way actually.
okay.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed because when I had a screenwriting adaptation class in America, we talked about why sometimes films are shown, why some
Ah,
films have different locations because it's more exotic. So it's why
yes.
James Bond, for example, is quite popular because it's globe trotting. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yes.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
there's
So
another greet before everything else. So here's Chris.
oh, Mr.
Hey,
Chris. Hey
Hello.
hey
Chris,
guys.
how are you? Oh, I cannot
yes.
reply back, but yeah,
Yes,
he's,
Chris
he's a great
Lamach.
actor,
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Chris is actually an active actor in Japan.
Japan.
Now they moved to Saudi Arabia actually, but
Mm.
yeah, he was active in the theater uh,
Mm.
scene here.
Mm.
So yeah, and then sometimes he also uh, he and his wife Arlene, and they're both active in
Mm.
the theater scene and filmmaking. So he's part of the. We are part of the expat filmmakers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was a very long conversation, and we had a lot.
But it wasn't boring though, so
It wasn't boring. I
And we
learned
can
a lot.
go on and
it
on
was
and
still
on. And
good.
on.
Yeah,
No,
it
it's
was.
fun to have you, Donnie.
Yeah, it's good to
Let's
have.
do a part two, man. No, thank you guys. I really appreciate this,
Yeah.
opportunity. Sometimes it's good to talk about the filmmaking. I mean, what we do. So
Mm.
it's not
Yes.
every day that you hang out with fellow filmmakers and talk about
Yes.
films and the process actually.
Mm.
So
Yes. Yeah.
you know,
And good thing about this technology now is even though I'm here in the Philippines, Adam is in the UK, you are in Japan, we can talk and we can make
Yeah,
a story about it. So
conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
we should invite Doug.
we will we will invite Doug. We'll try to invite Doug. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I miss Doug.
Okay.
I mean, he's the best.
Okay. Any last word? Any last not words? Any
Last
last?
words. Um,
Uh,
well, it's tough filmmaking. I mean, for aspiring filmmakers or for the fellow filmmakers, I know that this year is really tough
it's
for us,
real tough.
especially. I
Yes.
mean, I mean, for especially in our industry. But again, what makes a good movie? It's a good conflict, right? If you
True.
don't have a good conflict, then what's the point of watching the movie? So let's use this as an inspiration to create more, and this will
Yes.
inspire us. And you're not alone, man. Like every one of us are. I mean, I am struggling. Like every one of us is struggling, and I
Yes.
think I know. Filmmakers are tough because I mean. All the filmmaking process is not easy. So again, I think let's just keep on moving forward and work harder and keep doing what we do. And yeah, that's actually
Yes.
the only advice I can give. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
really,
Oh,
yeah.
very good.
So
Well, thank you again for taking
thank you,
part.
Donnie.
Thank you guys. Thank you
Yeah.
for this opportunity. And I hope we can do this again.
And we will.
Sure will. Yeah.
Okay. See you. Bye, Donnie.
Bye, guys.
So yeah,
That's
Adam,
that.
that was Donnie was great. Our first guest in
Our
this
crash
village.
test dummy to see if guests will work. Yeah.
Yes,
That was good.
that's good. Yeah, we'll hope that he will be in a next episode. He will join us again in the next episode.
In the
Yes.
meantime, watch all the other episodes, Donny.
Yeah, Donnie.
In the
Episode.
meantime, watch every other episode.
So yeah, guys, it was 1 hour long, and I hope
Any,
you
any other
learned
comments
something.
in the meantime?
Yeah. There was my mom. He said thumbs up. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my mom. And also, yeah, I think that's it. And next time, if you want to join our discussion, just
Just leave
comment
a
us.
comment. Yeah.
Leave a comment. And please do like and share and subscribe in our Facebook and YouTube. So yeah, so see you again next week. Same time, 9:30, 8:30, and Philippine time and
I
UK
think it's
time.
now 12:30 in the UK because I didn't realise that you didn't have daylight savings, whereas we have daylight savings over here, so we've gone back an hour. So I
Yeah.
didn't expect that. So yeah, from now on it'll be 12:30 in the
Mm,
UK.
yes. So
But thank you everyone out there for
thank you,
watching.
everyone. Yeah, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. That's it. It
On
will help
Facebook
us a
and
lot.
YouTube. Yes.
Yes, we will create a lot more, a lot
Content.
more content in the coming weeks, and we will going to bring Filipino filmmakers and foreign filmmakers, so that you will be inspired.
Not only filmmakers, we'll be looking into other areas like artists, maybe
Artists, yes,
photographers, actors. We'll see who we can find.
yes. So it's gonna be a great episodes. Okay, goodbye.
Take care.